going to move into Berlin. He's the Executive Director of the Office of Pupil Transportation.
I imagine you want to talk and ask questions and talk about things, so I'll be very quick, but I certainly can talk at length about pupil transportation. We transport about 60,000 children door to door every day. It's the largest school busing system in the country. We spend $600 million on school busing for special education children a year. And we are working very hard to make things work. One of the challenges we have is that, and we're just through with this, is that the non-District 75 children's schedules change every November 1st. So we've had to reroute the entire city starting November 1st. So the routes are just settling down from that now. And I'm happy to talk about other issues around mixing of children on the buses and limited travel time and other things if you want me to, or maybe I'll just open it up for questions and see where the conversation filter on the bus. That information is all transmitted to us through the city's computer system, through ATS, the main computer database. And we receive an electronic order to bus the child. That information, I don't know how it gets dropped, but it shouldn't get dropped year to year. It really is a result of the IEP process. And when the IEP is renewed, whoever takes the IEP information and puts it in the computer should update and make sure the codes are updated. If that doesn't happen, we route them like we see them. So what we're trying to do to fix this, and this sort of gets into the issue about being proactive, is a few things. First of all, the city is moving from a paper-based IEP to a new computerized system called CCSE. And that will seamlessly flow the information from the IEP to the ATS computer system. So we don't have to worry about a human being forgetting to recode something. It will also include flags. So if a code is dropped, the drop isn't for a legitimate reason. It's no longer felt the child needs to have a mini wagon or limited time. But, so it can check to see whether or not a child was dropped so someone can review that, whether or not the drop was for a reason or the drop was just a mistake.
Don't parents have to submit documentation every year?
So I don't, to tell you the truth, know about as much about the IEP process. We just sort of get the orders. It might be that they have to do that.
The psychologists are told not to put it on the IEP.
Okay, so that is as the department that does the bus routing, that's not, we take the orders that we're given. And the process of getting that on an IEP really resides with the school and the committees on special education and the placement offices.
There's someone here from the OE?
Every year.
Okay. It's required to submit it every year. It's new every
Okay,
year.
so then that can be a reason why things can be dropped.
Except in certain...
So that's really an issue of, and I want to talk about the proactive stuff. But, if the order doesn't come through for limited travel time, we don't, our job is to do what the larger DOE tells us.
That's misinformation. The child has limited travel time. The child has limited travel time throughout his life.
I know.
Limited travel time all the way through.
It should be placed on year after year unless the circumstances change.
I think that's right. Again, it's out of my
I know it's right. I went to the hearing all the
If it
time.
says limited travel time, give it to them.
Okay, I would like to...
That's correct.
So we're doing a number of things to try to be proactive about avoiding what I call sort of simple mistakes. So we're doing a much better job with our computer system of catching errors, of finding children that have limited travel time who aren't being given that, of finding children who are required faster. There's one thing that we're trying to do that I know is a frustration, and this gets to Tom's issue about people who lose their jobs, is the speed with which we can resolve issues. And we're trying to resolve them as fast as we can, but it's 60,000 kids, and it's hard to get them resolved quickly. And then the last thing I'll say about the proactive stuff that we're really trying to do, and we'd like to enlist your support in is that we've tried to make, and we have made, all the information we have about your children available on our website. And we remind parents to check that information for yourself. It's also available on our IRV. You can call up if you don't have web access and type in your child's ID code, and a computer voice will tell you what we think your child needs. And if it's wrong, get it fixed. And the idea is to try to fix those things in August rather than waiting for the wrong bus to show up in September.
All that on our website, and we
a specific amount of time for a child to be on a bus that has no travel time is specific.
Sure. So
In my particular case, my child is 3 years old. He's spending about 2 hours on a bus in the morning and then 2 hours on a bus in the afternoon. Wow. And we need it each weekend.
105 minutes. And that's the guideline, and we don't have a specific number, but my expectation is that like 98, 99% of the kids will be within that range. Certainly there will be cases, we have children that travel from the Rockaways to go to school in Riverdale, and we're not going to do that in 105 minutes. But that's our guideline, and by guideline we don't mean 2/3 of the time, we mean almost always. For limited travel time, those guidelines are 60 minutes and 90 minutes. As far as training for the drivers and attendants, 60 minutes and 90, so 60 minutes in borough and 90 minutes out of borough.
For limited
time, yes.
But that's longer than regular time.
No, regular time is 90 minutes in borough and 105 minutes out of borough.
Unless the doctor says different.
Unless the doctor says limited time, 30 minutes or 45 minutes or something like that.
Wait, let's let these folks signed up to ask their question.
That information that you just gave me is correct according to your website. I have it here. The website says that the limited time for in-borough for regular time is 60 minutes, 90 minutes. That's the maximum allowed.
That's for regular, so for a non-limited travel time child, the amount of time that they travel, it should be no more than 90 minutes.
Correct.
And for a non-limited travel time child traveling outside of borough, 105 minutes.
That's not what it says here.
Let's let people ask their
So yeah, maybe we can look over, maybe you can show the folks over there. So please give your information, excuse me.
It's basically with DC 75 and with the Board of Ed, and basically it's probably for our public service and not, council meetings or whatever. As a recently retired 12-1-4 teacher in the New York City Board of Ed, I've been concerned about students in wheelchairs riding on buses. I feel that it is very, very hypocritical for New York State that I can get a $50 fine if I don't have my 3-point harness on, and I can get a $100 fine and 3 points on my license. If I have a child in my car that it's not in a car seat, a booster seat, or a 3-point harness, and yet thousands of children throughout the U.S. are sitting in wheelchairs that are very safely strapped into the school bus, but have no harness on, no headrest. What happens and what will happen and what does happen to these children when the bus is in an accident or even a near accident where the driver has to slam on the brakes? Their head's going to go, it's going to be terrible. And I've done a lot of research on it. The only state in the country that has severe regulations for this is Texas. Texas not only needs 3-point harnesses on all children, but all wheelchairs must be from companies that crash test wheelchairs. And this is supposed to be the greatest city in the world. Everybody wants to come here. We got to get on the up to plate and change the laws. Why should Texas be ahead of us? Thank you.
That was good.
Hi. My question is, what happened this year? I'm with a group of parents, and our children have been on 4 or 5 different buses, and they are autistic children that are not very good with change. I'd like to know how many people here have had kids that are on 3 or 4 different routes this year, and how many people here have their children have been late for school by at least an hour, sometimes 2.
Wow.
Now, what's going on this year that this is so bad that...
When you look at our numbers, this year we have fewer late bus complaints than we've had in the past few years. I know there are still late bus problems, but in fact, when you look at the actual numbers, there are fewer of those. And that is a fact. This year we've had one thing that's made our job even harder. So every year we get more routing demands. The number of children that need limited travel time, the number of children that need mini wagons, the number of places that we bus to goes up. And every year, the number of schools that we can't bus together increases because the session times disperse bigger. So the routing demands have gone up. This year we've had the additional, I guess 2 additional hits to us. One of them is that the non-District 75 public schools were allowed to change their session times. So we had to reroute all of those schools in October, in addition to the fact that every October we have to reroute all of them, or all of the non-District 75 public schools children whose, some of them participate in an extra long day. They get an extra 37.5 minutes of instruction. And so because of the worst performance on the state test scores, more children, went from 3,000 to 7,000 children, were moved into extended day. So all of those children had to be rerouted. So we did get hit with kind of increased routing demands this year. So that's part of what has made this year worse than past years. But in fact, when you look at the numbers, when you look at the numbers of complaints about late buses, actually the number is down, which I know doesn't mean that there are many people whose buses weren't an hour late. It doesn't mean there aren't problems that we haven't fixed. I'm not denying that, and that's my responsibility. I'm not trying to walk away from that problem. But I look every day to see.
Okay, so Sam.
All right, hi parents, we're in this together. I don't get satisfaction out of having a 7-digit complaint number. That just tells me that there's a million problems going mine. I stopped calling complaints because the last time I spoke to OPT, I had to spend the time finding out how my child was getting home that day, because even though we got plenty of notification for once, now he's been on 6 routes, most of them we got the notification after the route began, but thankfully the matrons let us know they were coming off of their roster. But when I did get letters, the letters were alive because on November 1st he had no ride. And you know, it needs to be fixed the way it's done. This could be done a lot better. There are dispatchers who know the streets. There are schools who know which kids need to get out each time. This is being done removed from the reality of the children, with some routers and some computer who are not on the ground with us, feeling it like it's the worst their kids. And when you mess with our kids' transportation, you're messing with their education. They have civil rights that other parents like us got together, organized, went to court, went to the streets and fought for. And if they're missing school, because like my son missed 3 weeks of extended day, all the time added up, he's been missing about a day a week for the first 2 months of school. He told me the other night, Mommy, I was on time for school today. It was November 15th. You guys need to make a commitment that next year it's not going to be like this. You're going to make a plan and stick to it and put it out there publicly by a deadline that this routing is going to be done in a way that's sensitive to our children's education, the sanity of the drivers, the safety, and you know, everything else that we deserve.
Non-public school for children with special needs. I'm the transportation coordinator. Actually, I'm the programs director. And 10% of my job is supposed to be the transportation coordinator, but I spend about 70% of it because of all the issues that are happening. I don't want to be redundant and talk about the late issues with the buses and all the things that are happening, but basically all the issues that everybody's been talking about so far, our school has been going through with no resolution. It's been at least a month, maybe even more, kids getting in past 9:30, missing reading, missing their therapy mandates. And my big question over the whole system is, where is it getting fixed? Where is the accountability? Why isn't there, okay, this problem is still existing after 2 weeks, well then let's put a plan forward, or let's get there and see the route. I just hear investigators are on it, or I get a phone call every once in a while saying, oh, what's going on with this particular route, but there's still no solution. In fact, they've added more kids to this particular route. Our kids are not going to be getting to school on time. It's illegal. Their mandates are not being made. They have limited time travel. Again, all the same issues. It's just a bigger issue, and the safety of our kids is just not being taken into consideration. And they're the ones who are suffering.
Let's just, got 30 seconds.
Well, I'm done. Thank you.